This week we test out a very exciting lens for us wedding folk, the Sony 28-70 f2. I was not expecting them to make this lens. We're going behind the scenes at a wedding day where Marshall encounters a bug.
You got a bug?
He teaches me how to do a casual lean.
Is this it? Am I doing it?
And flexes his filmmaking skills on all of us. Also, it's probably the hardest ceremony that I've ever done with this crazy backlight. A very nice year for us into weddings and also Sony cameras. Same year, new gear. Same year, new gear. Almost new year, new gear. By the time you get this, maybe new year. 28-70 f2. 28-70 f2. Sony looks at Canon and says f2. You expected me to say FQ, didn't you? Because you're a horrible person. Sony 28-70 f2. Sony 28-70 f2. 28, also 70, also f2, also Sony. It's the Sony 28-70 f2. It's the Sony 28-70 f2.
Quite a test of this lens.
f2. F2. Sony. Egg sandwich. Before we get started, I have a crazy Black Friday sale and there are only 100 of them available, and I know that a few have already sold. This is the official announcement for it though. If you're interested in doing hybrid photo and video coverage like we do at weddings every weekend, I have the easiest way. A way that is working for thousands of photographers all around the world and helping them make hundreds of thousands of dollars and book more weddings than ever before. Know a lot of people in the industry have been having difficult seasons, but I know a lot of hybrid shooters that are doing their best seasons ever. I'm offering a crazy deal on the video series that teaches you everything that I know, plus it comes with so many extras. Head on over to the link to see all the extras, and as always, a 100% money back guarantee. If you get it, it's not for you, just send me an email, let me know, I'll send your money back. Let's begin with a brief summary of this lens. It is incredibly useful, and the 28-70 is a reason that a lot of people are still on the Canon RF ecosystem because they love that lens. Now, Sony has made that lens but smaller and better in my opinion. It is 36% lighter, which is a lot, and 11% smaller overall, which puts it back into the boundary that I am comfortable with it in an ergonomic way. Now, let's talk about its usefulness.
In terms of usefulness, let's rank this, we'll give this lens a rating at each part of the day. Getting ready coverage, I'm gonna rank this a full 10 out of 10. It's small enough that you're not gonna attract a ton of attention, but it allows you to get a lot more versatility and zoom than just using a 35mm prime, which is what I would normally be on. When it comes to first look, I'm gonna give it a 7.2. I'll give it a 9 if you're on a body that, if you're in crop mode, that you still get good megapixels. On the A9 III, unfortunately, I get 10 megapixels in crop mode. So for a first look, I'm probably gonna wanna be somewhere around maybe 150 millimeters in order to stay out of the way and stay out of the moment, but still be able to capture images. So can you use it? Yes, absolutely, and it's going to give you some incredible photos, but there might be potentially a better tool for that section of the day. Moving into the ceremony, I would say that this is an incredible lens for the ceremony. It allows you to get those photojournalistic moments as people come down the aisle. If you are on a 70-200, you're going to really feel that 70 and you're gonna have to switch camera bodies. If you're doing photo video coverage, there's a lot to juggle, so I like to have everything in settings on one camera rather than using two cameras. So that Tamron 35-150 is an incredible ceremony lens. I'm gonna rank that a 12 out of 10 for ceremony coverage. I'm gonna rank this one here an 8.89. I think that feels nice. There are definitely times you're going to want something a little bit longer, and there are definitely ceremonies that you'll know about before you get to them that are just gonna be in larger spaces or with larger guest counts that you are for sure gonna need a longer lens. Looking at this ceremony today, I am very happy with this choice. I would rank this a 10 out of 10 as a choice for today's ceremony, but not all ceremonies because they're a little bit different. Into couples portraits and family photos, this is going to be a full 10 out of 10 for you. The f2 aperture, you essentially get to shoot many millimeters of primes. So you get that 28mm prime, you get a 50mm prime at 35, and a 70 at f2, and the images feel very, very nice. For family photos, it also gives you a little bit of versatility. If you do have a big group of people, or if you're trying to hide elements behind people sometimes, you're able to take a few steps back and zoom in to move those background exit signs exactly where you want them behind people's heads, so you don't have to go in and post and remove them. Moving into the reception for entrances, incredible tool. I would rank this a 10 out of 10 for that. You get f2, which is great for low light. You get really nice background separation from whoever you're photographing or whatever your subject is. For details, the close focusing is also really remarkable. I'm very happy to say that I don't need to bring a macro lens with me, that I'm more than happy with how close I can get to objects at 70 millimeters, even at f2. It's kind of crazy. Wide open, just looks good. First Dance is also a great tool. You get those wide environmental shots, as well as at 70, get those nice tight close-ups. So if you want to showcase the environment, you're able to do that. And if you want to get a little bit tighter and really focus on the emotion of the moment, you're able to do that with one lens as well. Now moving into the party, I am also very happy with this lens. The low light functionality in terms of autofocus is incredible with any current Sony camera. I have no problems at all doing dance floor coverage with this lens, and shooting it at f2. Usually my dance floor strategy is that if I'm shooting something at f2, I'm doing bounce flash and making it look all nice. But then depending on how crazy the party gets, I might also be stopping down to maybe something like f8, setting my focus point to maybe 2 or 3 meters away from me, and doing some direct flash with a little bit of motion in there to accentuate how fun and exciting the party was, or at least capture in photography more of what it actually felt like to be there. Let's talk about the gear I brought today on this really Canon looking patio furniture set. Peak Design Messenger, it's the bag I bring to every wedding. GoPro for some behind the scenes. You probably don't need to bring one of those, or maybe you should. I recommend it. Get some behind the scenes footage, make a promotional video, connect with your ideal client. Sony a7 Mark IV, the 16-25 f2.8G, which is the lens that came out earlier this year. As I said, a very nice year for us as hybrid photo video creators on wedding days. Next up, Pro Photo Flash. I think it's called the A1, A10. Probably not the A1. I think the A1 is a Sony product. And I have 2 adapters. I have a half CTO, so it makes the light a little bit orange, and have a diffuser. And then I have 2 batteries for this guy, and I actually shoot this on TTL, so if you've watched any of my older flash tutorials, I shoot a lot of manual flash. With this Pro Photo, I now trust it more because it works all the time, which is nice. I also have a transmitter, so if I need to do any off-camera flash today, Pro Photo off-camera flash transmitter. Again, works all the time. I like that. Sony 85mm f1.8. This next year will be the GM2 version. It's the end of the season, and this is, I guess, the last wedding day for this lens. Next up, battery charger. USB-C. Very nice. You can charge your camera if you need to. You can charge your phone. In my bag all the time. 1 extra Sony battery. I don't really find myself going more than 2 batteries, I would say, into a wedding day. Today is a 6-hour day, so I'm going to say this won't even go in any of my cameras, and I probably won't even touch my second camera at all. This entire day is going to be on the 28-70 f2 hard drive to back up my photos, and my laptop so that I can actually call this wedding while I'm here if I do have a little bit of downtime. I'm not going to do that if there's events happening, but if everyone's sitting down for dinner and nothing really is happening, I'm going to download my cards and I'm going to start calling for preview photos for them to send the next day. But I can also usually get through the entire call of the wedding. I use Imagine for AI editing, but I still do the call myself because it's just a little bit easier. There it is, all the stuff. Peak Design Messenger, everything fits in here. And I think my motivation to keep my kit small is because I have to carry it. So if I start adding heavier lenses, I have to carry those all day with me. So I think that that helps simplify my kit. We will now leave the Canon themed patio furniture and we'll stand over there and talk more about this lens. Wow, just call me Sam Colder for sick transition shots like that. 28-70 f2 is an incredible tool for wedding photographers. It is an all-day lens. If you are doing a larger ceremony, I feel like today I'm comfortable, I'm happy with 70 as my maximum. But if you find yourself in a large church environment, you're probably gonna want something like a 70-180 or a 70-200 or even a Tamron 35-150 for that specific environment. When it comes to the 28-70 f2, the amazing thing is that you obviously, over the Tamron 35-150, you're gonna get those extra millimeters on the wide end, which means when people are coming down the aisle, you're able to get more environmental shots at 28 millimeters. I like 28. I know a lot of comments are gonna be that I'm only gonna buy this lens if it's a 24, and I am happy and comfortable with 28 millimeters. And I also know that there's probably some sort of internal debate between people because this lens is a heck of a lot smaller than the Canon 28-70 f2. And in order to maintain the small, I think it's 40% smaller and lighter, in order to maintain that form factor, I am okay that it doesn't go down to 24. If they would have kept it the same physical size as the Canon and went down to 24 with this, I don't know if I would have bought it. it's a maybe. I find that the Canon 28 to 70 f2 is just ergonomically, there's a level of discomfort that I'm willing to put up with in order to get incredible images. And I feel like it's like, it just rides that line with the barrel size and the fact that if you're traveling with it, it takes up a lot of space. Whereas this fits a little bit nicer into a bag and it feels a little bit nicer at the end of the day as well. I have really no complaints. It feels lighter than you'd expect. That's how far zoom. So 70, 28, 70, 28. No big deal, right? On the side, you have buttons, smooth and tight, which means that right now it's smooth. And then if you hit it to tight, just adds a little more friction there. My choice is smooth. There's a click on and off on here as well. So for aperture, if you want it to be clicky, there's a click button, or if you want it to be smooth. I personally set mine to A, and then I use this iris lock button to leave it at A forever, and that will never change. I also don't use these buttons for anything. Maybe one day I will, but on this day, I do not. And there's an autofocus, manual focus switch as well. I find that if I am using manual focus, I'm just tapping the back of the screen or setting up a manual point rather than going into any sort of manual focus modes. Again, that's just me and how I do things. And that might not be how you do things, but you have options. You wanna go manual focus, you wanna go click off to get those smooth transitions between apertures for your video. That's cool. Today I'm on the A9 Mark III, which is my camera of choice for this year. I got it, I didn't think that I was going to keep it, and it ended up being my main camera for the entire season. If you do follow us on YouTube, you know that I use a lot of cameras on wedding days, and this one I would consider to be my main for hybrid photo video coverage. It shoots videos to both cards, it's really important to me. Nikon, I hope that you eventually do this. Canon, I feel like a lot of people, Marshall just left Canon yesterday. So this is the last day, the last time we're gonna see a video that Marshall shot on the R6 Mark II. He's been in Canon since he was an infant. He came out of birth, and the doctor gave him an AE1. They were like, here you are. And then Marshall began his Canon journey then and ended. And also you went iPhone this year too. Who are you?
Yeah, I've had a lot of changes.
That's a big change.
2 weeks.
His parents are not happy with him.
The multiple band-aids did that. I totally
So time crunch right now is kind of perfect for photos with the two of them. So I think we're gonna do family really quick down here, and I'm gonna bring the two of them up there for some sunset photos. And then we're gonna go on a golf cart tour to an interior wilderness and get some photos. I probably can't go too far into the forest. It's so good right now though. But logistically we have to get the couple out of the way, otherwise they're gonna start a receiving line up there, which would make things harder. So the A9 III has become my main camera. I love it. So I'll list the reasons why I love it. One, it's quiet, it's fast, the autofocus is amazing, and the global shutter actually is helpful, even though it gets trolled a little bit online. In terms of LED lighting environments, it's really, really nice. For video coverage, it also allows me to do 4K 60 uncropped, which unfortunately none of the other Sony cameras that I would consider for wedding photography do. So that is why I have used this camera. Now the bad is that your base ISO, so I shoot everything in Cinetone because I shoot my photo and video hybrid while I'm in photography mode. So that means I have to use picture profile 11, which is Cinetone, in my photography mode. So I'm shooting all my photos in it in order to just make it easy to hit that record button and be recording a video in Cinetone. But that means that my base ISO is not only 250 and there's no extended lower ISOs, it's actually 320. So all day, the lowest ISO I can shoot has 320, which is a little bit annoying. For photography mode, global shutter, no problem. You can shoot 1/80,000 of a second as long as you're at the correct aperture, and you're gonna be fine outside. But for video, and this is gonna anger a lot of cinema people, so I don't use ND filters. I will just overcrank to whatever it needs to be, and I don't move, so I let motion happen within. If it looks a little glitchy, I'm going to use a plugin to smooth that out and to reintroduce the natural motion blur that, had I shot it correctly with 180 rule, that it should look like. But because I'm doing both photography and video, there's no real time for me to be able to just screw on an ND. And also, if I'm shooting all my video at 1/120 of a second in terms of shutter, there are times that I'm going to want my photography shutter speed to not be that, and it just kind of makes it messy. So I shoot whatever shutter speed necessary, but this camera, so photography mode, I can go 1/80,000 shutter speed, but for video, I can only go up to 1/8000, which means if I'm shooting an f1.4 lens, and it's a bright sunny day like it is right now, pretty quickly you're gonna find yourself maxed out on shutter speed if you do want to be shooting wide open when your ISO is 320 at a minimum. So for this year, I'm going to be keeping this camera. We'll see next year if it continues. Marshall says that he won't hit record until I Captain Morgan. That's it, that's all. Thanks for joining us behind the scenes, wedding photography with the all new Sony 28-70 f2, an incredible lens that will be in my bag for next year. So if you're considering this lens, probably pre-order it as fast as possible. I suspect it's going to be popular and it might take a minute to get it depending on production. I have no visibility on that, but if you do know that you want one, pre-order right now. I'll put a link in the description below. And if you want to watch another behind the scenes wedding day, it's up here on the screen. Woohoo. It's gonna go there. I don't know. It's on the screen. I can't move it. Marshall wants it right here. It's right here. That's the spot.
And don't forget to get in on that crazy Black Friday sale with so many bonuses. It is only available for the first 100 people to get it, so get in early if you want it. And as always, a 100% money back guarantee.